Hi everyone, Eric here on Product Police. I'm about to interview the president and COO of WIX, one of the more successful companies on the internet today. Here we go. Hi Nir.
Great to see you again, my friend. My long time friend and mentor.
Thank you. Nir Zohar is the COO and president of WIX, one of the most successful companies on the internet.
WIX is a company that is in the constant state of acceleration, which is it's very exciting on one end, but it also can be very tough on the mind and the body. And it also means that almost every year you look at the mirror and say, all these procedures, all these processes that I put in place in order to manage 500 people no longer work at 1,000. Now I need to adapt and change and see what to keep and what to change and reinvent myself with. And then a year later you do it again, and a year later again, and it's just an ongoing process of trying to understand what's the balance between how to effectively manage such a big organization and also to allow further growth.
Mm-hmm. So you scaled the company from 10 employees to 2,500.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Could you tell us a bit about that journey?
The challenge, I think, is almost always the same. It's around, I would say two main areas. One is how to manage it. What is the right structure that can allow effective management? Mm-hmm. Because you obviously, as you grow, you want to start inventing procedures that will allow you to control and manage. But there's always also the fear that those procedures will become a monster on their own, and instead of the procedure working for you in order to be a better manager, you start working for the procedures, which is the worst. Coupled with that is the cultural thing. You're trying to build an organization that reflects who you are and how you think that a work environment should look like. And when you're a small organization, you don't need to do anything. You just, you come into the office, you meet everyone, you know everyone by name, everyone knows you. And by seeing how you are, how you behave, they absorb it, and that becomes the DNA of the organization. When you have 1,000 employees, definitely even more so if when you have 2,500, that's not enough. You cannot be everywhere. Not everyone knows you. Sadly, this stage, I don't even necessarily, I went through the stages of knowing everyone to knowing everyone by name, to knowing everyone by face, to not being 100% sure whether the person that just crossed my path here outside the office and said hello is really my employee or not. So I say hello anyway, just in case. But sadly, you get to the point where you don't know everyone. And then you have to try and find ways to distribute that culture into the organization in more planned ways. And even that is something that you don't want to do in a too planned way, because then you become one of those annoying corporates that, gives you the list, the commandments.
Company values.
Exactly.
So what do you think about creating a manifest of company values? This is what we believe in, and this is how we should behave.
The way we wrote it is, we call it, I think the title is the way we are, and then we said, or are trying to be. And we are recognizing the fact that those kind of values usually, values is usually something you strive for and you never achieve, okay? I don't claim that we are perfect in all those things that we put in front of ourselves of being professional and being and taking care of our customers and being very open with each other and having clear communication, being very transparent. And there's the list is obviously longer. But we wanted to write down that we are aiming for this, and this is an aspiration and not something that we've achieved. And also, instead of trying to put a one-liner, the beautiful one-liner that captures everything, we wrote a whole paragraph of what we think about it, what does it mean, what it doesn't mean. Over time, when you speak with people, you see what can confuse them. So instead of letting that confusion arise, you can actually write down and address it, okay? And say, it doesn't mean this, it does mean that. Kind of put the Q&A into the value itself, So when people look at it, they can actually try and get into your state of mind what you were aiming for. I think if you go outside the corridors now and grab someone and say, give me the WIX values, they will not be able to recite them. I'm 100% sure they won't, unless you find the person who wrote them. But other than that, and even then, I'm not sure that they'll be able to recite them. But if you take those values and you go to anyone in a company and say, do you think that we are A? Would you say that we are B? Are we more to this way or that way on C? I think that they will all get back to you that we actually reflect very well what's written in the values, which in my mind is a much better way to do it rather than write it in every possible wall, put them in front of your face in the toilet, and make sure that you can recite them before you go home every weekend.
Writing a manifest, I assume, can only take you so far. How do you instill a culture in an organization of 2,500 people?
Each organization has its rituals. What do you do daily? What do you do weekly? What do you do monthly? What do you do quarterly? What do you do yearly, etc. So I'll give you an example and connect that to a value. One of the key values we have is that we measure everything. Okay, if it cannot be measured, then it is if you haven't done it. Because we work on the internet and we have the luxury of being able to measure impact of everything that's being done. So there's a short 10-15 minute meeting every day, operational meeting of the day, in which all the operation representatives of the whole company can come into one room and go through a 10-minute briefing of what happened last night, what's going to happen today, what's going on. Urgent issues that happened through the previous night, which are things that affect our users, so it's important for everyone to know about them. Specific things that come from customer service that they want to complain about, so they sit there and say, hey guys, you're messing up, help us fix this now. The numbers of the previous day, and the A/B tests that are being opened or are running, and what are the high level of the results. And these are all correspond with values that we have around professionalism, about numbers and measurement, and about customer obsession and customer care. Jumping from the daily to the quarterly, every 3 months we have a whole week, which we call the roadmap week, in which each and every team in the company presents a deck, a presentation of what we've done in the past 3 months. And they do a presentation in which they cover what has been done, what are the plans ahead, but they actually start always from the numbers. And in the numbers, they show two sets of numbers. They show the numbers of their own product, and they always show that versus the general numbers of the company. In order to understand whether an increase in their product is something which is because they improved the product, or maybe, if all the numbers went up, then they just went up with the company. They didn't create the improvement on their own.
The numbers are in context.
Exactly, but also to remind them always that whether it doesn't matter how strong they feel and how proud they feel about their unit, about their team, we are one company.
You have this thing about transparency. Can you tell us a bit about that?
We're a public company. Usually public companies, especially when they become public, you start hiding the numbers from the employees.
That's true.
Because things can get out and leak and whatever. I don't understand how can I run my company without my employees knowing the numbers and knowing whether they're hitting their goals or not, and whether something that they just released, how did it affect the customers. Mm-hmm. So if you walk around the office, you'll see that there are TV screens all across everywhere. In every floor, there are TV screens with the numbers out there. What happened yesterday, how many sales, how many registered users, exactly what we've done. They get it through email. They get it in a weekly digest that is actually an editorial of kind of internal newspaper. We don't hide that from employees. It's important for them to be exposed to it, and that's part also of transparency, which is another big thing that we believe in.
Tell us a bit about the IPO, how you went public.
I'll give you a completely different transparency story. When we went public, we went on the roadshow. The CEO, myself, and the CFO. 3 weeks on the road, speaking with investors all across the US. Before we went on the roadshow, we took the roadshow presentation, gathered all of the employees in the company into one place, and presented them with the deck we're going to present the investors and ask for feedback. When we went on the road every day, At the end of the day, we took photos and videos that we shot on the road. We wrote a very long email summarizing our day and sent it to everyone in the company.
So how many people were in the company at that point?
About 500.
So you actually shared the most strategic meetings with 500 employees?
Yes, of course.
And how did that work for you?
Beautifully, because it turned the IPO into something which wasn't our thing, but it was everyone's thing. You know, taking a company public, especially in Israel, can be a great thing and it can be extremely disruptive. It was very important for us that employees will understand the process, they'll understand what's going to change in their lives and also what's not going to change in their lives. Because there's a lot of myths around what does it mean to go public and what's going to happen next.
There's a lot of anxiety. What does this mean for me?
Exactly. And I think that we took a lot of the edge off on one end and also we made everyone feel that they're part of it, which is what they really were.